Another week, another Democratic debate, this one in New Hampshire, just 4 days out from that state's presidential primary. We're talking highlights and lowlights.
Team Rising is here to help us with that. Colin Rogero, Democratic strategist, and Marissa Martinez, Republican strategist, previously served as political director for Governor Charlie Baker's re-election campaign. Two great friends of the show. It's good to see you guys.
Nice to see you guys.
So, yeah, it was a Friday night debate. I don't know, we haven't gotten the ratings yet.
They were actually up a little bit.
It doesn't surprise me, given the amount of political engagement post-Iowa and all of that. We have a little bit of a highlight reel we want to play, and we're going to get your guys' reaction. Great. Let's take a listen.
Candidates, welcome. Vice President Biden, the first question is for you. In the last few days, you've been saying that Democrats will be taking too big a risk if they nominate Senator Sanders or Mayor Buttigieg. But they came out on top in Iowa. What risk did the Iowa Democrats miss?
Well, they didn't miss anything. This is the long race. I took a hit in Iowa, and I'll probably take a hit here. Traditionally, Bernie won by 20 points last time.
Pete, fundamentally, you are missing the lesson of Donald Trump's victory. Donald Trump is not the cause of all of our problems, and we're making a mistake when we act like he is.
That's right. When our nominee is dividing people with a politics that says if you don't go all the way to the edge, it doesn't count. A politics that says it's my way or the highway.
Are you talking about Senator Sanders?
Yes.
The way you bring people together is by presenting an agenda that works for the working people of this country, not for the billionaire class. The way you bring people together, Republicans, independents, Democrats, progressives, conservatives, you raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour.
Interesting moment there. I mean, Colin, let's start with Joe Biden. Who concedes the New Hampshire primary during the debate? In the very first question, in the very first seconds, he's like, I'm probably going to take a shellacking here in Iowa. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, that's not really inspiring to the people who may wanted to vote for you, who may have wanted to vote for you before that time. Oh. I mean, talk about expectations setting, right? I don't know. I've played a lot of games in life and never walked into the game and said, well, we're probably going to lose, because then you normally do.
Yeah, right.
So I was really surprised by it. Although I think he had a good debate despite that, considering all the other debates he's done. One of his better ones.
Yeah, well, I think that's right. I mean,
it was, but it was so undermined by that moment.
It was.
I mean, at a moment when he needs to project confidence and some swagger and all of those things, because he did have some good moments in the debate, getting the audience to stand for Vindman. I mean, that's not really my cup of tea, but it was a strong moment for him. He had some other good lines during the night. But when you open up with, I'm probably going to take a punch here as well, you can see, I mean, and the reporting after that says that voters are saying, you know, he's not really giving us a reason to support him here.
Exactly. Every movie, every hit song, every good ad in the first 5 seconds to 10 seconds captures you. Yeah. And he did not do that.
Right.
Unless he was trying to be self-deprecating on purpose, but I think if that was the case, it backfired.
Yeah, what did you think, Marissa?
Yeah, I think it absolutely backfired, and you know, he kind of just threw himself out there and said, well, we're not expecting much coming out of New Hampshire. But I think overall, it was interesting to see how Warren underperformed as well on Friday.
Yeah,
she really didn't.
She even admitted after the fact in an interview that she should have fought harder, should have gotten in there more, because she had very little speaking time, which on the one hand, you know, is partly the moderator's fault, but also, Colin, if you're the candidate, you got to get in there.
Yeah.
There's no excuses. You got to get in there.
Absolutely. You got to throw your hand up. You got to jump in. You got to mix it up, because this is one of the last and final debates for these people who are on the bubble, which is 4 and 5 and maybe even 3. And she's one of those. So she's really got to jump in, really should have mixed it up, and really should have said, here's where I am and here's my lane. And I don't feel like she did that.
She is really on life support, because let's say, I mean, she got third in third-ish, whatever the hell.
She got, I mean, the one thing we know is probably that.
Around 3 in Iowa. She looks like she's headed for either number 3 in New Hampshire. That's not enough there, because those were her 2 strongest states, right?
Correct.
I mean, she's winning with those upper middle class white liberals. There ain't a lot of those left in Super Tuesday, especially in Nevada, South Carolina, and on Super Tuesday. So I think she's got a big problem ahead of her.
I absolutely agree. I think she has a big problem coming up. And more so, I think 2 people that stood out from Friday's debate is definitely is definitely Bernie and Buttigieg. Buttigieg, I think, is having...
He got the most speaking time.
Yes, absolutely, got the most speaking time. But, I mean, Buttigieg is going to have to deal with a lot of different issues when it comes to race and his record as a mayor as well.
You know, I thought one of the best moments of that debate, Colin, was Andrew Yang. Whenever he called out Buttigieg and he said, he was like, Donald Trump is not the cause of all of our problems. He's a symptom of many of our problems. It's kind of the deeper structural critique that he had there. It really does show, though, I mean, kind of like some of the hollowness in which the way that Pete presents some of his ideas. What do you make of that as a strategy? Do you think that he's making the right call, Pete, by saying Trump is the cause of all your problems?
I don't think he's got much of a choice. He's got to try to deflect from his personal record on race in, South Bend, and that's very problematic for him. And you can see even when the moderators pressed him on it, he had some trouble answering the question. He didn't really have an answer. He kind of stammered around, and he's got to come up with an answer for that. But yeah, I think it is a good technique to attack him on that because he doesn't have an answer.
I mean, that was really that moment when the moderator, which by the way, I thought these moderators did an excellent, the best job of any of the debates so far. It was very substantive. And Pete, for the first time ever, actually got a hard question on his record. He tried to spin it, and she pushed back and said, no, that's not true. Here's what the facts are. I'm paraphrasing, right? And he really didn't have an answer. I thought it was the weakest moment that he's had at any of these debates so far. And we're going to talk more about the polling coming up, but it looks like it has at least stopped his momentum and maybe even taken a few points off of him.
Yeah, I mean, I think the two biggest, his two biggest issues there is going to be just in general the fact that I think the number of arrests for individuals who've been arrested for marijuana, that's been a big problem for him, as well as the firing.
Fire chief.
For the fire chief.
Police chief and the fire chief.
That was an interesting moment with him, is whenever, because at first he was like, no, the number of drug arrests went down, and he kept trying to like spin it, and then I think he was like, no, it did go down, and they admitted it. Again, it was a big
and he
big
used
problem.
This very Republican, like super predator type talking point that basically we had to arrest so many black people because these black people were so dangerous and they were in gangs. Which, look, if you're a person of color watching, like, this language is very familiar to you and not in a good way.
No, not at all. And, look, I don't think that there was a huge gang problem in South Bend, Indiana.
Just putting that out there.
I don't know anything about South Bend.
I've been there many times.
I'm willing to probably
It's not that dangerous.
Okay. At the same time, Colin, I did think that this was Sanders' strongest performance. He's had some ups and downs. He had that debate where his voice was hoarse and really not a great look for him. I thought this was his strongest. I thought he really commanded the stage as a new frontrunner.
Yeah. Look, I think, there's a big difference when Bernie walks on the stage and when other people walk on the stage generally. He feels completely comfortable in these debates. And hoarse voice or not, hey, look, I think the hoarse voice is like a variant of his voice normally, to be clear.
Yeah.
But I think he did a great job. I mean, Bernie knows what he's talking about because he's been talking about it for 20 years. He has shielded himself from attacks and answered things very, very well. And that's why he's winning.
And there was that sweet moment, actually, where, they asked him about Hillary Clinton's comments about nobody likes him.
Great answer.
And Amy immediately jumps to him, and Joe Biden comes over and puts the arm around the shoulder. It was actually a nice moment, Marissa. And I think it was also interesting to me that everybody just basically threw Hillary Clinton under the bus. I mean, nobody went to bat for her.
No.
Yeah.
That was the crazy.
I think that moment, if the Democrats do it correctly, is a foreshadowing of what it's actually going to take to beat Trump, right? I don't think an individual candidate on their own is going to beat them. It's going to have to be like Avengers in Endgame, where everybody comes together and they call in all their friends and everybody is running like they're running for president in order to win. That's what it will actually take.
What did you think, Marissa?
I mean, I think it's tough to say because at the end of the day, a lot of these folks are fighting for second best. Trump had an amazing January month. I think we added 225,000 jobs.
True.
And
his approval rating's very good right now.
His approval rating,
especially on the economy,
45.5. So I mean, if you look at those two facts alone, the jobs are there and things are getting done. So Democrats are going to have to kind of step up and figure out a way to maneuver around those.
That's
facts.
a good point. We're going to get into that also, not later, but I'm saying as the months go by, is what I want to know is right now the number one issue in the Democratic primary is health care. But general election voters, that's not actually the case. Somewhere around immigration, healthcare, and the economy, all three, those things come together. So always important. I can't wait till the polling actually starts focusing on everybody, and we will really see how the electorate is feeling. Thank you guys. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back right after this.